Good Monday morning, everyone. This is Stacy with our DMOpro Zoom. We're so glad that you're here today. Hope you had a great weekend. And I was just telling these ladies that I woke up last night with thoughts in my head. So I got up and wrote them down and knew that today I wanted to talk to you guys about overcoming objections, not just overcoming them, but embracing them. So this is something that I learned early on from people in our community, and definitely in network marketing, there's more to, you're going to experience more objections than probably any other type of sales business, right? Maybe a car, but like if you are looking for a car, you go to a car salesman because you're looking for a car, right? Like you're already wanting to buy one. So it would just be finding which car is the best fit for you. But sort of when we start conversations with people, sometimes they're not even looking for nutrition, or they're not looking for a meal replacement. They're not necessarily, they don't even know their need yet. And so we're helping to explore that with them. But there's definitely some, mental capacity, some mindset side of things about objections that we got to look at too. So I was just thinking about, if somebody has an objection, if we embrace it versus getting abrasive, then it's really going to help direct that conversation into a much more positive way. So embracing it to me means, oh, good, they're interested, right? Like they've got a question about it. If there's no answer, then I don't really know where to go with that. If they will tell me what their objection is, then I know how to help overcome that. So, I'm going to talk today some about product objections and then business objections, because both of them are going to come into the conversations that you're having. And instead of looking at it as, well, they're not interested because they said XYZ, then just realize if we lean into that objection, then it's probably going to give us some details about really where they're at, like what their heart is and what their values are, and what they're looking for. So let me give you an example. When I was first introduced to Juice Plus, I said, let me talk to my husband. So then I talked to Jarrett and he said, no, vitamins aren't any good. We're not going to spend money on the vitamins. So when Sharon called me back, I was like, oh, my husband said no. He said vitamins aren't good. All right, well, thanks so much. And she said, great, he's so smart. Like, that's right. Vitamins aren't any good. But I used Jarrett as sort of my scapegoat. I didn't know enough to make a solid decision on myself. I listened to the audio. He hadn't even listened to it, right? But I had listened to the audio, but I acquiesced to his answer so that I didn't have to be like the bad guy and tell her no. And she could have easily just said, oh, okay, well, thanks for listening to the audio. And if you ever change your mind, let me know. But she didn't. She said, he's right. Like vitamins are not, and that's not what Juice Plus is. And so we continued the conversation. So, that was one objection I had. Another objection was on the business side. I said, I don't want to be the Juice Plus lady. I told that more to Jarrett than I did to Sharon, but I did say, I remember, guys, this is 20 years ago, but something to the effect like, I don't want this to be a distraction from my kids. Like I really want to be present with them. So I didn't want to get distracted, or, I wasn't working. I was choosing to stay home with the kids. So I didn't want, something else to distract me from them. So if you really leaned into that, and I think Sharon did a good job of that, helped me, gave her insight that it was really important for me to be home with my kids, and to, for that to be sort of my why, that if financially things ever changed, I wouldn't have to go back to work. Now, at that time, Jarrett was a captain in the Air Force. We were making really good money, but it was just a couple years later. I mean, it was like 6 months later, his income was cut like $30,000 a year because he got out of the Air Force and into a contracting job. So I didn't know that was going to happen, right? Like we didn't know what job he would get and what the pay would be. So just because there wasn't a financial issue there, me wanting to be home with my kids having stream of income helped me to stay home with my kids. It wasn't a distraction. The Juice Plus business wasn't a distraction to me. It was actually helping to fuel what I valued most, which was my children. So think of an objection as sort of like a window into what that person really does value. And so if you lean in and ask some more questions, you're going to gather some more information. A great question is, tell me more about that. Help me understand, or give me some more details on that. Let me hear more about that. Share, where does that thought come from? Or does that play out in other areas of your life? Just lean in and ask some questions, because we're quick to answer. But if you really want to know, like, what's the value behind this objection? If you think of it that way, what's sort of the hidden value or desire that's behind this objection? It's going to just really help you to get a deeper insight of really what that might be. So we give time and attention to what we value. If you think about that, so does our customer. So if you are getting a lot of times where people are saying they haven't watched the video, have you guys ever had somebody that's hasn't watched the video? You're like, have you watched the video? Have you watched the video? Have you watched the video? I mean, it's 12 minutes, right? Like the one I send is 12 minutes. Some of you guys might send a shorter one. It's not a lot of time. If it's really something they see of value, they will spend the time on it, right? They'll listen to it for 12 minutes. So if you can tie the video back to what they've already told you their value is, which may have been one of their first objections, then continue to tie it back to that need, to that why, and reminding them of that can be helpful. So like, this video is going to give you the answers to the value and the need that you said you had. And so if you can do that, that can help shorten that window. Plus, if you ask them if you can send the video, if they would watch the video, that's going to help too. So psychology, there's kind of 3 things in there. 3 times of saying yes, they're more likely to follow through with whatever they've said they're going to do. So I try to get 3 yeses from them on anything in the conversation, right? But especially when it comes to watching that video. And then can I send you a video? Will you have time to watch it this weekend? Can I follow back up with you on Tuesday? That would be 3 yeses. Or what day would be good to follow up with? So if you can get them to say 3 yeses, they're more likely to commit to whatever you said. Now, if they won't watch the video, that's a good indication to you that this is probably not going to be a good fit for somebody who's a team member. Now, a difference would be when Sharon would follow up with me, I had a conversation with her. It wasn't that I just totally ghosted her. I never answered. I was discussing it with her. I was having a conversation. She was continuing that discussion with me. And there's just this kind of fine line of like a feeling in your gut when you just like know that this really does make sense for them. And like they're just overwhelmed with the busyness of life and sort of like, you can't leave them there, right? You're just like, dang it, that was a good conversation we had at the beginning. I'm just not going to let this go because I know that this would be helpful to them. And you just kind of stay persistent in that follow-up. But if it's not, the video's not working, then switch it to a live event. If that's not working, let's meet in person and I'll go with you. Like just try to change it around to get the information in, to try to get that education into them. Another thing is overcoming the objection in person instead of just over texting. Okay, so if the objection comes up, say, do you have 10 or 15 minutes for us to explore that together? And then, can you get on the phone? Or would you like to do lunch? I'd love to chat with you about that. If there's just sort of a lot of objections coming up, then maybe in person would be a better option for them versus texting, and it just prolongs the conversation. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. Like, man, if you can get on the phone or meet in person, get them to an event, it just speeds things up because you can get more packed in and really explore a whole lot more than you will just texting and texting. So that's another thing. If you can get them in person, that's helpful. Something else to think about is, let me think what she called it. I watched a training this last week by Kristen Boss, and she talked about objection bias. And she was saying, and it's so true, you're really never going to be able to authentically overcome an objection somebody else gives you when it's really truly what you believe yourself. Okay. So on the product side, if somebody says, yeah, Juice Plus is just too expensive, I just don't have the money for that. So the price objection, it's really never price, it's really never time. They just don't see that that's tied to a high enough value to solve the problem that they have. So we know people spend money on what they find value in. They will go to Starbucks and buy a $5-6 coffee because, I don't know, it's like a treat. It's a reward to them. It's what they get to do on Fridays, or some people every single day, like they spend money where their value is. So, if that's an objection you have in your head, if you secretly kind of think, I do think Juice Plus is expensive, and this is going to be true, probably not for you guys because you're, I'm guessing, more seasoned here. It's probably for our newer people, okay? And I rarely get the objection anymore that it's expensive. I don't know if you guys notice over time, you don't get that objection anymore. Patty's shaking her head here. She's been with us for about as long as I have, almost. And I think 18 years, right, Patty?
26.
26. Okay, she is more than me. Yes. So we rarely get that objection anymore. Why? One, because we don't believe it. And I think that even in small ways, I kind of drop the hint that Juice Plus is an affordable option in the conversation early on. And that was something that Jay Martin said is like, what in the conversation, you can say, I love Juice Plus because it's an affordable option for our family. So you've already planted that seed. It's affordable before the objection even comes to the price. So it's just in talking about it, you would say it's affordable. You could talk about how many fruits and vegetables we're supposed to eat. And you can say, if I gave you $3 and sent you to Walmart, how much could we even get back now? And that's not even on the price point discussion spot in the conversation, right? Like you're just putting it out there that, produce is pricey. And then when you're talking price, you would go back to that same thing and say, remember we discussed about expensive produce. Even $3 isn't going to buy you much. This is just $2.67. It's less than $3 a day. How else are we going to get that nutrition in? And so you're speaking to the price point at that side, but you sort of implanted the objection overcomer into the conversation earlier. So think of ways that you can bring those into your conversation. What is it that you're most getting? What objection are you hearing the most from somebody else in conversation? It's probably where your belief system needs to be strengthened. Okay. So is it price? Is it, I don't know, you guys text in the chat. What are some of the objections you guys get the most? When you're talking product, we'll go with product right now. What are some of those objections you guys get more times than not? Let's see. My kids don't like the taste of the gummies. And I just joke too, when somebody says that, I'll say, well, they also didn't like sitting with a seatbelt in a car seat, but that was kind of a non-negotiable with me. Like, you have to have a seatbelt and you have to eat fruits and vegetables. So you can eat this whole plate of broccoli, kale, and spinach, or you can eat these gummies. Which ones would you like to do? And kind of they'll laugh it off. But I'll say, if it's something that's really important to the mother, she'll find a way to get those gummies into them. You can dissolve them in water. So now overcome that objection, right? Like kind of reminding her why it was so important for her to get those gummies into their kids. If they've got an antibiotic, I mean, we've all wrestled kids down and like putting the syringe way in the back of their throat and like, you have to take this, right? Not that we want them to do that with Juice Plus, but it's like you find a way. You just find a way to do that. And so if, I don't know, to me, like, oh, my kids don't like the taste of gummy. Okay, well, then let's teach them how to swallow capsules, or open the capsules into applesauce, or put it into their sippy cup. You can dissolve them and drink it like a juice and call it a grow juice. Anne-Marie says an auto ship. Somebody says, I don't like the auto ship. I would definitely lean into that one with a question and say, oh, goodness, it sounds like you've had a bad experience about that before. Tell me more about that. What happened? What company was that? What didn't you like about it? And if she says, well, I just don't like not having control of my order, I would say, well, keep in mind, you do have control of the order at all times. It's your order. You're ordering directly from the company. It's not from me. I'm just facilitating that order for you. So you can call the company at any time. They'll give you that number. I'll give it to you. You have a customer portal that you can sign in, and you can arrange your own orders. You can delay the shipment. You'll get an email before your box ships. And if you need to adjust it, you can. And then you also have me. If you need me to adjust the order at all, you can let me know. And then your other option is you can do like I do. I pay $52 a year, and then my own orders are underneath me. So then I'm ordering from myself, and then I can adjust the orders as needed because I have access to the back office, and then I get a rebate back on my own products too, which you guys are looking at ordering quite a few things, or you're interested in these, the Trio and the Omegas, that might be something for you too. Would you like more information on that? So dig into why they don't like the auto ship. Probably they had a negative experience where boxes were just being shipped to them over and over and over again. And we do know that's the fastest way to lose a customer. So make sure you tell your team members that, especially your new ones. They'll let it go the first time, but the second box it ships without their acknowledgement and they still have product, then they're going to cancel it. So just know it's almost always. So Nancy says it's the price for her. We kind of touched on that, but I would just really challenge you. Is that something that's an issue in your mind, that you do sort of feel like it kind of is pricey? It's pricey for I don't know, or maybe it's thought like this, like, I don't know if she would be able to afford it, or I would like to share with her, but I just really I don't think that they could put this into their budget. Things are really tight for them, but you just kind of go ahead anyway, because it would be helpful. If you're trying to determine if it's in somebody else's budget or not, you are saying in your mind, it is an expense to you. So I don't have any control over somebody else's budget. I don't know what they spend their money on, but I do know a single mom that I was helping get her finances in order. When we looked at her budget and what she was really spending her money on, $350 a month went to McDonald's and Starbucks alone. Like, she was shocked. I was shocked. She was shocked, right? But we put money where we find value. For her, that was convenience. And so once you, like, I don't know where somebody's budget is. So if I'm assuming they can't afford it, then price is an issue for me. I assume, yes, they can, because a copay is almost as much as it costs for fruits and vegetable capsules, and the child gets theirs for free. Like, one copay at a doctor's office is, $30 to $50. So I would just really look at that. And then your objection in your mind, if belief is low, then you're going to not put as much value on it, and then that value is not going to be transferred to the person you're talking with. So I would say work on the belief for yourself. Go back and think through customers that have had a really good experience with Juice Plus. I mean, that's of high value to them now. Think about your own story. That's of high value. That's going to help fuel your belief. Watching videos, dig into the research behind it. Disease is expensive. Disease is really expensive, time-wise, money, stress, all of those things. So that really just shows that, the belief just isn't there. And if price is the objection for the person, a lot of times, same thing, the belief in what I'm going to trade. So my money and what I'm going to get out of that trade-off just is not high enough for me to put the money there. So their belief isn't strong enough. And so have they watched a video? Have they come to an event? Price really isn't the objection. It's not really that the money isn't there. It's just they don't have enough value attached to the product to put their money to the product, right? So their belief in that this is going to help solve my problem isn't there. Have they identified the problem and have they tied the solution of fruits and vegetables in a strong enough belief to meet them together? If not, then price is going to continue to be an objection that you get over and over again. So are you just presenting the product, or are you tying in the product and the problem together as a solution? So kind of think about how your discussion is with people with that. So I'm seeing people saying I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. So I would say, and I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, lean into that. Awesome. Tell me, how do you do that? I find it hard to eat 7 to 9 servings every single day. What are you doing to get those in for every single meal? And so they would say, most of the time they're already thinking, oh, I don't do 7 to 9 either. What's she talking about? That's a lot of fruits and vegetables. But you can just like kind of toss that out there. Awesome. What do you do? What do you eat for breakfast? And then they're like oatmeal. And you're like, that's not a fruit or vegetable, you know, like they're already saying it in their head. You don't even have to say it. And then, or we grow our own garden and we eat enough. Excellent. You know, I love fresh tomatoes too, but it's hard to come by those in the winter. You know, so I love the tower garden. I can grow year round, and the fruit and vegetable capsules, like you just lean into it. That's kind of answering the question. I wouldn't jump that fast into the answer, but just lean in, ask them questions. Why is it important to them to have their own garden? Why do they? Because it's probably going to go to fresh produce, that it's clean, that it doesn't have anything on it, how it's grown, that they take pride in growing their own produce. Like that's all good things, right? That leads us right to the tower garden. That would be an easier conversation, maybe. You know, being able to get a wide variety every single day. Just because they're eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, we tend to eat the same ones. So can you help tie that into the variety of Juice Plus as just a wide base versus a narrow few that we eat every single day? I want my kids to eat their veggies instead of taking the pills. And I would say, absolutely. So do we. You know, we want them to eat as many fruits and vegetables. The capsules, the gummies don't take up much space in somebody's stomach. They're going to be hungry, is what I would say. You know, we're going to be hungry if that's the only thing we're taking. We've got to be eating as many plants as we can. Have you ever heard of something called metabolic reprogramming? And then if they're like, no, what is that? And then I'll say, it's actually something that happens in our brain as we feed ourselves more fruits and vegetables. Our brain is like, thank you. That's what I've been wanting. And I will. And then our brains start to crave that. Our bodies start to crave that. And we see people's taste buds change to where they actually want to eat fruits and vegetables. I've seen it with kids and it's crazy. And they don't even know what's in those gummies that they're eating. Right. So I know that we also want their child to eat fruits and vegetables. But I also know as a parent, just because I want them to eat more fruits and vegetables doesn't mean they will. Right. Like at least this is like a safety net that I know that they're getting this nutrition underneath whatever else we can get on top of on that. And they're eating on there every day. If they say, I don't want to take pills, explore that. Is that something that you have a hard time swallowing? Do you choke on them? Did they have an experience one time as a child with capsules? What are the options that they could do instead? They could do the gummies. They could drop the capsules into their smoothie and blend it up and just drink it that way. So lean into that. Why don't they want to take pills? Does it remind them of medication? If that's the case, open the capsule and have them taste the powder. And you say, okay, what do you taste in this? And they're like, I taste garlic. I can taste the broccoli. Okay, the capsule shell is just the delivery system. If the shell is the issue, take it out of the shell. Like, okay, now we're going to toss the shell, which is just tapioca. It dissolves super fast. But okay, if you don't like the idea of a pill, if you dump all 6 capsules out, it's a lot of powder. Like there's a ton packed into those little things. I don't know if you guys have ever done that. Dump all of those out and then they see like that pile. Okay, just go ahead and eat this pile of plant powders then. They're like, no, that would be gross. Okay, so just swallow the capsules. Like it's the same thing. It's just powders into the capsule form. Take the pill shape away and help them see it's just powders. Put the powders into something else, applesauce or whatever it is. A smoothie would be the easiest one, and they're going to get in, they can order the complete as well. Patty talks about saying, I know how you feel. I felt that way. Here's what I found. And sometimes that can be a great, intro to like at the end of the conversation, like after you've leaned in, you've asked some questions, and then you have a better broad understanding of what their objection was. And then you say, you know what? I do know how you feel. I felt that same way too. So this is what I found. If we jump right into feel, felt, found, we might lose the opportunity to dig in a little bit more, but that's an extra, that's a great one. So, somebody said, we never go to the doctor's office, so I didn't know the copay. Oh, maybe Lisa said that. Yeah, she's never going, but that could be an objection somebody else has too, right? Like, well, I have free medical care, so I don't have a copay. And when somebody has free medical care, and that was military, there wasn't a copay that we had to pay. But then when he got out of the military, if he went to the doctor, we had to pay a copay. And I was like, ooh, that could add up fast. Like, I didn't like that at all. So it put more of the responsibility in my hands as the wife and mom of our family to keep us out of that doctor's office. So when they have no copay and they can just go to the doctor without a copay. So if they're on Medicaid or Medicare or military, that could be a thing that, copay isn't going to connect with them. So again, knowing where they're at could be an important part of that conversation. That might not be an expense to tie it back to. So you could, it may not be the copay, but it could be a single mom or a parent that has to miss work if their child is sick. If they're out of work, then they're not getting paid that day, right? If they're not there to get a pay, because they had to take off work. So that could be more of tying it back to an expense that illness does have for them. Try to find what it is. Let's see. Okay, I think that was the main ones for the objections on those. So yeah, okay, I got those. All right, so if you guys think of something else, you can put this in here. Now let's move to the objection of the business. When somebody is saying, I just don't have time, for something like this. Again, it's never really about the time. It's not really about the money. So if it's not about the time, what is it about? Again, they don't see or have a belief that whatever time they invested in this would give them enough of a payoff to make it worth their time and effort. So if I'm going to, share Juice Plus with people around me, I don't believe that they would actually buy it. I don't believe that they would come to an event if I hosted it. I don't believe the information I'm sharing has high enough value that I could transfer to them to help them to come, right? So if somebody's already walking into the distributorship or the partnership with you and your company with that mindset, it's going to be hard to help them overcome that. It's something you can do because you're like, look, we're going to do it together. You find value in this. I do think that you're family and friends, but if you're talking them into it, it might not be a good fit for them, right? Like, I promise you, that's not going to be the only place that you have to talk. You're going to have to talk them into it. I would also have you question or, look back into the conversation, introducing them into the business. Are you saying things like, you can do as little as or as much as you want. You don't have quotas. You don't have to do parties if you don't want to. You don't have to make a certain amount of sales with anything. You can just share as you live life. We're not really selling Juice Plus, we're sharing it. And if you see somebody that has a need and you could just talk to them about it. Okay, all of that is true, right? All of that is true. But what you're going to end up with is a team member that walks in believing I can just get some money back on my orders, but I don't have to do parties. I don't have to bring it up in conversation. I don't have to sell a certain amount. Like I don't like to get to Partner Plus or QSC. You're just walking in with a really small mindset for that person. You're trying to kind of say, this isn't a big deal. Like you can do it whenever you want to, but then we're frustrated when they don't want to and they're not doing it, right? Like, is that really how we want to set them up? What if the conversation was more in a positive belief building way, where we're walking into these conversations stronger with a strong belief for them and a strong support with them that is giving them vision of what the possibilities are? Okay, so instead of minimizing the effort that they would have to put in, let's maximize the results and the positive benefits of that. So you can share as little or as much as you want. There's a ton of people in our community that need our help. Think of who we can help together. Okay, so like just phrase it a little bit different to where you're bringing the positive into that conversation. Because if you're walking into this business and if your core belief is, I don't really want to do a lot, I'm busy, I don't have a lot of time to do this, but I would like to make some extra money, and I'll just share it if it comes up from time to time. I'll share Juice Plus. I have no problem with that. But I don't really have time to make this a business, and I'm not a business owner anyway. I don't really know how to build a business. And if I got a team, I don't even know that I would do with that team. Like, don't you think that's going to transfer into your team invite conversations? So really check your mindset on that. It's stinking thinking. We have so much support out there. We have so many resources to help us share this business really well. And you're going to attract what you think. It's going to be hard to overcome objections that you personally have. And we're going to bring in team members that think small if we think small and we present small. Does that make sense, guys? Does that make sense? So really think about that verbiage that you're using. Mm-hmm. All of those things can be brought into the conversation, like we don't have quotas. And but if you're saying that because you're trying to make it seem like this is super easy, this is real easy, and you can just kind of share it sometimes on the side, then don't be irritated when they're just barely sharing Juice Plus on the side. Like, that's what you told them this was. That's what you offered to them. That's what you made appealing to them. So that's what they're going to follow through. So just make sure, and Marcia, you have a great point. When we're bringing people in just because there's an incentive of $30 off, and it's only $22 now, just be careful with that. Like, have the really strong business conversations, the strong invites, like tying this as a solution to the problems they've already shared with you. Oh, and when they're ready to, they're like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Oh, and guess what? You get $30 off this month and you get 90. Like, that comes at the end versus that being the start of the conversation. To me, that's what I have been doing. I had a conversation with a gal. I would really like her on my team. So we sat down, she came over for lunch, and I said, hey, I have something I want to run by you. And I started the conversation with, look, I get to choose who I work with. And I love working with you in this other area. These are the things I see that really attract me to you as someone I would want to be on my team. And you've been to every health event we have. I'm just curious, like, what's holding you back from ordering Juice Plus? Because I would like to work with you on my team, but I know Juice Plus is interest to you. Like, why haven't you ordered? And she said, basically, like, I don't want it in my mind to think if I take these capsules, then I don't have to eat fruits and vegetables. And I just said, I think you're a little too smart for that. Like, I don't think that's going to go well in your brain because it's not how you think of things. But tell me more about that. Like, where does that come from? And we kind of, walked through some of the objections. Again, I brought it back to, I think you would be great at this. This is something you can move around the country with your husband's job with. You mentioned you did these other businesses or jobs before, and I see this fits well into that. And in the end, she said, I'm close. I'm almost there. I'm just not quite there yet. And I was like, well, I'll be patient and wait because I think you'll be great when you decide. I didn't say, oh, well, this would be a good month because it's only $22. I'm going to minimize that. Like, I don't want her to talk her into just saving $30. Like, she's not ready. She's not there. Her belief is not strong enough in the product. Her belief is not strong enough to say yes to really, I want her to do the business with me because she is good at sales, because she would be great at this when she gets it. She will be. I won't say would be. She will be when she finally gets it. But I'm not going to talk her into it. I'm not going to incentivize her with a small, $30 savings. So be aware of that when you're talking, and like that to me should come on the price point of the distributorship should come on the end of the conversation when we have this incentive, because I think it does definitely can fuel that small thinking. You don't have to do much. You don't have to do, a certain amount, but really check those objections. Are they your objections? If you're saying this isn't sales, this is just sharing. Guys, it is sharing. This is also a sales business. I'm sorry if nobody told you that. I'm going to be the one to burst your bubble. It is a sales business. We are selling a product. I'm not selling it and that people are giving me money. I'm more selling them on the education, right? I'm selling them on watching the video. I'm selling them on coming to an event. I'm selling them in partnering in a relationship with me, a business connection. I'm selling them on who we are as a company, on the mission that we're on. I'm selling them on the power of plants. Okay, so I'm selling them on growing their own produce. Selling means you're bringing forth the value to someone. You're connecting the value to their need. That is a process. There's a psychological process. There's, great books that have been written about selling. If you've never read a book about how to be better at selling, I would question why, because we are selling. We sell every day. We sell our kids on things, like buckling up. Why do we have to buckle into our seatbelt? Selling our kids on doing their chores. If you really look at what you do on a daily basis or a weekly basis, there are multiple places where you are selling someone on something. It's just part of all of life. Marketing, commercial TVs, on TV or on the radio, ads on Facebook, stuff is being sold to us all the time. So we click on the ad that we believe is going to bring some value to us. It's going to connect a need that we have with a solution they're offering. That's what we're selling. But there is a process to that. If we just randomly share this and say to people, if somebody says, yeah, I'll share Juice Plus, if the conversation comes up, if the need comes up, if that's how I did this business, guys, I would be broke. I would have no business, and I would be frustrated that I don't have customers. And I would be saying, nobody likes Juice Plus. Nobody needs fruits and vegetables. Nobody wants to buy this. Nobody wants to join my team. Everyone thinks it's expensive. That would be going through my head. But I'm not in that for this. I'm not just in it for the casual conversation where this might come up and I just mention my story and this is what I take. And if they're interested, they will get back to me. I would be broke. I would have no dollars except for my own orders every month, and that's fine if somebody wants to stay there. But I don't think that's why you guys are here. You're here because you want to make a bigger impact. You want to make a bigger impact on people's lives, and you want to make an impact on your family's financial situation. And you know what? I'm giving you permission. It's okay. It's okay. Both of those areas, wanting to make an impact on people's nutrition and their life and your family finances, they don't contradict each other. They play very well to each other. And I'm giving you permission to do that. It's okay for you to build income. Repeat that after me. It's okay for me to build income. And what you do with Juice Plus is good work. And I know I tell you guys that because I really believe it. What you do is good work. You are impacting lives. When people get these plant produce into their bodies, we see changes within them. You know, their bodies know what to do with this nutrition. It is impactful to them. When people latch onto this business and they really decide, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it well, it does impact their family finances. It does allow moms to stay home with their kids. It does allow them to pay for private school. It does allow them to go on family vacations, whatever that is for you or for them. This is a vehicle to do that, but we need to take it serious. And overcoming those objections in our head first before we start projecting those objections onto somebody else through little things in our conversation. So watch what those objections are that keep coming up. Recognize, okay, those might be an objection I have within myself. And then embrace it by starting to ask questions, really leaning in, finding out what's behind that objection, and then offering the solution to that. Okay, so through your own experience, through another resource, through bringing somebody else into the conversation, whatever that's going to look like, but really taking it to heart. Probably the objections I'm getting are objections that I personally have. So I hope that you guys find that helpful. Does anyone want to add anything before we hop off? Just remember you're muted if you want to unmute yourself.
Hey, Stacy, so many of the things that you have said this morning, I can look back on my Juice Plus journey and early in my journey, having so many of those objections myself, the things that you're talking about, especially business wise, just a mindset of, you know, and actually my biggest struggle right now is dealing with just the network marketing business itself, just knowing this is network marketing and thinking to myself, who wants to do this? And then I go, well, you do. There's people all around you that do, but I struggle. That's my biggest one right now. But there's so many of the ones that you said that I struggled early on, and I see my team sometimes struggling with them. And I always say, please don't have to go through what I went through. Let's get this. Let's get this done. Let's get over this now, because people need what, just like you said, people need what we have, and people need, you know, it's so simple. But so many things that I struggle with early, I wish I could go back and, you know, not have to. And I try to coach my team the same way. Please don't go there. You know, let me help you over that.
And Marcia, isn't that true that, you know, the objections that we have about the business, and we had them, you said that you had them, I did too, that we had to overcome them. So it's not like if somebody has an objection on your team, you're like, well, throw them out. They're not fit for this, you know, like you're saying, let me help you overcome that. So it's a process, and then new ones are going to come up. Right. So even for me, 20 years later, back at the beginning of the year, I just had this, you know, a series of things that had happened that my belief in network marketing or this business or sort of the company overall, like it was waning. And I could tell I wasn't showing up into the conversations like I needed to. I had to take the time to deal with that. Because remember, I was the problem. That song, Hi, It's Me, I'm the Problem, It's Me and Taylor Swift, like this, like that was my anthem at the beginning of the year. I was the problem, but I had to recognize that, figure out what is this. I got on a couple of coaching calls and did some counseling, like with my mother-in-law, just like really digging in and working through that because I didn't want to stay there. But had I stayed in that mindset, it would have shaped the conversations I've had over the last 6 months, because it was shaping the conversations I had had the 6 months before. And if we don't deal with that, it's just going to get worse. And so, Marcia, I love that you brought that up. Things change in our lives, in our thought process, experiences we've had that can affect what our belief is or what our objection is. It wasn't this before, but now it is. Okay, let's sit there for a minute and figure out, what do we do with that? How do we deal with that? How do we process that? How do we move past that? How do we strengthen the belief in that area? And you're probably going to need your upline to help you with that. Somebody, above you to step in and help that. So, yeah. Thank you, Marcia. Anyone else want to share? Anne Marie was.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. No,
I just was going to say, you just hit something else that was powerful. It's so easy. Oops, hang on, I'm going to move.
okay, yeah,
Okay,
we're
can
having
you
a
hear me
hard
better
time,
now?
Lisa.
Okay, I was just going to say something else you just said is basically, and you didn't say it in these words, but don't be a lone ranger. Be vulnerable and say something to your upline, because that was me. I feel like that. I didn't want to say anything. I could do this on my own, blah, blah, blah. I won't even go any deeper, but it's powerful to say that and just, as you said, resonate and sit in it and figure it out.
Yeah.
And so often it's our words, negative words. And the more you tell other people about that, I think the more you start building your own belief and realize, stop using negative words, because they don't empower you to do that God made us to be, if that makes sense.
Right. Yes, that's true, Lisa. Tapping into that's really important. Alita says, staying close to the fire. Janie, I would love to sit with you a little bit longer on this one. She said, for me, it's not having any upline near me. There's some really good benefits of not having your upline. I know you would be like, what, is she crazy? But I was only with Sharon for 6 months before we've left Florida, and I've never been by my upline since then. So when you don't have your upline, you will rely more on yourself versus going to their events. If there's an event in my area, it's because I made it. I organized it. I put it on the calendar. I brought the speaker in. There's ownership in that. And that's super powerful when we have an upline that's really productive and really in the business. It's easy just to piggyback off of what they're doing and not grow the own skill set and ownership of your own. So I would say, I think it's a benefit to that. Think of it almost like when your kids grow up, and if they stay in the small town that you live in, of course, great, you like them close. But if they go and they start their own life and they have their own families, and they have a job and they have adult life, and they start doing things on their own, that's really where you see them grow, versus they can just come back to me or to mom all the time and I keep bailing them out or whatever. So launch yourself without needing your upline position being right there with you. It actually, I think, is a hindrance to personal growth and business ownership if you have a strong upline that you can just always rely on their events. You're just not going to grow the same as when you totally take it on yourself. So that's just kind of, Janie, I hope that's helpful. You don't need a close upline. You be the upline that you want to be for your team. You be the example for them. And then all of the people underneath in that area become yours versus a bunch of different people's teams. So it can be a really beneficial thing too. All right, let's see, what else do we have? Yeah, the business is your own. Debbie said that. Yeah, for sure. Take that ownership. It's just something super powerful. Doing your own events. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we are over our 30 minutes for sure today, but I think this has been a great discussion. I hope I wasn't too too harsh on you this morning for a Monday morning. But if anything, I just want you to know I believe in you. You have the resources, you have the skill set, you have the mindset. All of those develop and are stronger at different times, but it's there. Tap into that and just do. It's activity. It's in the doing that we learn. It's in the conversations that we're like, oh, I didn't really say that so well. Okay, I'll shift it up and I'll say it a little bit different. It's in the conversations that you're like, totally bombed that. Why did I say that? Why did I say that? And that you lean in and you're like, okay, I'm just not going to say that again, or here's what I'm going to say different. And it's in that process that you learn. This is good information, but it's not really where you learn. It's in the doing that you're going to learn. So I hope you guys can take some of this and apply it this week. Thanks for joining in.